Okay, just a quick recap of the Capitals Flyers game. This game was fun. It's always fun to remind the Flyers that they are still our bitch, even if we might not win the President's Trophy for a third straight year this season. And I say might because don't look now, but we're actually only 6 points back of league leading Tampa Bay. And with the way that all of the league's broadcasters are swooning over Tampa this season, you would think that they must be like 20 points ahead of everyone, right? Well, not quite, as the Caps are right on their heels. We are obviously in first place in the Metropolitan Division. Stop me if you've heard that before. Division that these Philadelphia Criers are also a part of. And we reminded them once again who their daddy is with a triumphant 5-3 win after falling behind 2-0 early. And yes, it did look pretty bleak in the first period, as the Caps were still sleepwalking out of the All-Star break and having played just 4 games in the 19 days prior. Seriously, who made the schedule? But not to worry, because the good guys woke up in the second period and scored 5 straight goals en route to another big 2 points. Secondary scoring was big in this one. TJ Oshie, he scored his first goal in like about 700 games. Andrei Burakovsky scored his first goal in probably like 900 games. And Chandler Stevenson, after scoring 2 goals in the first, get this, 545 minutes and 23 seconds of his NHL career, yeah, he scored 2 goals in just 47 seconds in this one. And listen, anytime that you can score 5 goals and not a single one of those goals was scored by that Alex Ovechkin guy, it's a very good night. And while I'm not sure that a guy like TJ Oshie, who tied for the team lead in goals last season, can or should technically be referred to as secondary scoring, as Caps fans, we've lived in a world for the past 13 seasons where Alex Ovechkin scores so many goals that any goal being scored by a guy who doesn't have a number 8 on the back of his jersey can and will be considered secondary scoring. Ovechkin is the primary, everyone else is secondary. But seriously, I'm so happy for TJ Oshie. I couldn't even really be mad at the guy that he hadn't scored in a while, because anyone with eyeballs can see that he's still trying so hard out there. And he's just a guy who he gives 110% effort every game and every shift, and gosh darn it, did he ever deserve this one. His celebration was pretty epic too, looked towards the heavens, and just probably thanking God that he finally put one in the back of the net. Hopefully the floodgates will open up from now, because while the effort has definitely been there, his execution has been, I would say, probably more than a little bit off ever since he had his bell rung by Joe Thornton's ass. But he did look a lot better tonight after a bit of a rest for the All-Star break. So hopefully his goal versus Philly was a sign of pre-concussion TJ Oshie coming back to us. He sure nailed that shot to the top corner like it was 2016, 2017 again. So hopefully a sign of things to come. And my last bullet point on this game, like I said, it's going to be a fairly quick recap. But my last bullet point, I just have to say, I take such an extreme amount of pleasure watching our Caps rip Michael Neuvirth to shreds. You know what I mean? It's like that new car smell, the first gust of crisp, cool morning air touching your skin as you step out of the house on a spring morning. The taste of a cheat meal when you've been eating healthy for 2 weeks straight. This is what I feel like when the Caps score 5 unanswered goals and chase Neuvirth out of the net years later, and he still cannot best his weakest competition yet. That would be Vezina Trophy winning starting goaltender Braden Holtby. And you know, that fact brings me a lot of peace that there is some justice in this world, because sometimes douchebags don't win, and that's the way it should be. And ever since that fateful day in Capitals history in 2014, when the Caps finally made a choice as to who their franchise goaltender would be moving forward, and they chose the still wet behind the ears 24-year-old Saskatchewan native Braden Holtby over the older, more experienced Michael Neuvirth. And ever since that fateful day and the anointing, so to speak, of Braden Holtby as the franchise's #1 netminder, the Caps franchise has been stabilized to a level not seen in a long, long time around these parts. Yes, out was the head case, who's Michael Neuvirth, and along with him, his penchant for giving up ill-timed and incredibly weak goals. And in with the calm, cool, never flustered Braden Holtby, who oozes confidence in every sense of the word. And that confidence, really you can see it just spreads outwards from his crease and touches every single one of his teammates. And ever since then, it's felt like no matter what, everything is always going to be okay in Capitals land. So, Holtby, pardon me, Holtby and Neuwirth's careers have taken incredibly different paths since that day in 2014, with Holtby finishing 4th in voting for the Vezina Trophy the season after Neuwirth was traded, and of course being nominated as a finalist the 2 seasons after that, winning it once and finishing as the runner-up to Sergei Bobrovsky last season. And you know, I could talk about Holtby like literally forever. Braden Holtby has at least 40 wins to his name in each of the 3 seasons since Neuwirth was traded, making him only the 3rd goaltender in NHL history to post 3 consecutive 40-win seasons. Martin Brodeur and Evgeny Nabokov were the only other goalies to do it. And Holtby is on pace for 40-plus wins again this season, and if he does indeed do it, he will become the first goaltender in NHL history to post 4 consecutive 40-win seasons. Excuse me. And, you know, when we're mentioning Holtby in the same sentence as a guy like Martin Brodeur, I think that speaks to itself. But Holtby was also the 2nd fastest goaltender in NHL history to reach 200 career wins. He did it in just 319 games. And the only goalie actually to ever do it faster was Hall of Famer and overall legend Ken Dryden, who did it in 309 games, so just 10 fewer games than Holtby. Again, when you're being mentioned alongside Ken Dryden, that is never a bad thing. And Holtby leads all NHL goalies in wins. Get this, from the day that Michael Neuwirth was traded up until now, Holtby leads all NHL goalies in wins. And it's not even close, by the way. And just for good measure, in 2016, as we all remember, Holtby tied the great Martin Brodeur for most wins in a single NHL season with 48 Ws. By now, you must be sensing a bit of a theme here. All the guy does is win, and Neuwirth, on the other hand, has bounced around between 4 different teams now, and he has not had much luck winning with any of them. It seems there is no competition weak enough for Michael Neuwirth to be made a starter, as it hasn't really mattered which team he's on or who his goaltending counterpart is, because he always plays his way into being nothing more than a backup goalie. And a very marginal one at that. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride, eh, Nuvi? And so anytime that you're feeling dumb, perhaps you failed a test at school or something, just take a moment and remind yourself that there were actually Caps fans out there who thought that the Washington Capitals should keep Michael Neuwirth and trade Braden Holtby instead. Seriously, these people really did exist. So just remind yourself of that, and you will feel a lot better about yourself, I promise. For what it's worth, according to Nuvi, apparently he wasn't feeling well during the game. I say he probably got heat stroke from having that pesky red goal light going off over his head all night. But no matter, the dude always had an excuse for everything when he was in the Washington net as well. And, a tiger never changes its stripes, a narcissist never admits fault. So there you go. And of course, we are getting ready for our next game Friday night against the Schittsburg Penguins. That should be a good one. I hope to talk to you guys all then.